In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I want to tell you about my first day with Marina at St Barnabas Orphanage and Education Center. It was wonderful. I'll tell you in various parts. This is about basically just meeting the children and a little bit about teaching and a little about giving them food. The children, some of them, had never seen or rarely seen a white person. And so my hair is really different and my skin is really different. I think my hair more than anything else. So the children all wanted to, especially the little ones, but even the bigger ones, they wanted to stroke my hair because my hair is softer, and they would stroke my skin. And I think that sometimes they were even wondering, like, is my skin the same as theirs? Does it feel the same? Because it looks so much different. And they were just wonderful. They were thronging us, like literally there would be 60 children or 70 children around me, hanging on me, grabbing hold of my beard. They loved my beard because most Africans don't have beards. So they loved my beard and they loved grabbing at my hair, and they were very bold actually because they just kept grabbing at it, kept grabbing at my beard. And they were, a lot of them were very tiny. So I started just picking them up and putting them down, and they all wanted me to do that. So all of a sudden now I had literally 100 children to pick up and put down. Some of them were not so light, but most of them were pretty light. So I pick them up. The really light ones, I could actually pick them up and throw them a little bit in the air. They really like that. These children have completely just possessed my heart. They're very beautiful. Their hearts are big as their smiles, and their smile is as big as an ocean. It's really wonderful to interact with these children. These children are different than American children. First of all, American children are not as obedient. They're louder. They're snottier. They're not so polite. They're not so orderly. This school is in, really, to be honest with you, very primitive conditions right now. But the children are very orderly, very obedient. They're very polite. And they listen in class. They listen. You have a bunch of students on these benches, on wooden benches, in a room, which is basically a shack with just wood paneling around it, just rough wood, and then it's a dirt floor. And they're in these conditions, sitting there, looking at the teacher, listening to every word. It's pretty amazing. And they volunteer to answer, and they don't call out. I didn't hear any call out. I'm sure occasionally that happens because kids are kids. But in general, the quality of the student is higher than in American schools by far. And the education, from what I can see, because I'm a former nurse, I don't have my license renewed right now, that went into schools taking care of special kids, special needs kids. And I saw that most of the day was spent doing other things other than teaching, crowd control and other things. I'll tell you, when these children go into the class, they learn. And it's a really wonderful environment. Marina is coming here to teach English, to teach writing. And she has these dry erase boards with dry erase markers that have lines on them, like, elementary school tablets, so that they can learn to write. She would explain to them about that, and she had one class or two classes where she explained to them about writing. The students were very interactive, and they did what they were told, and their writing was beautiful. Their English writing was very, very good. They were careful. Their penmanship was careful. They were attentive. I was really so happy. My heart was full when I was watching this, and also, to be honest with you, watching my wife. My wife is like on cloud 9 right now. She is over the moon happy. And the only thing she's unhappy about is that this is now the second day gone, and she has to leave in less than 2 weeks. It's the only thing that makes her unhappy. And I'm leaving in a month, and I haven't yet come to the point where I'm saying, oh no, there's only a little bit of more time left. But she's already there. Tell you about breakfast. They had breakfast outside, and the cooking is done on a wood fire and a wood stove. And the breakfast was porridge, and the porridge is some combination of sorghum and maize. And it's just this gigantic bowl. And we put a cup basically 3/4 of a cup per child, which is not a whole lot. And then also a sweet. It's not chapati. It's not just bread, but it's just what is it called?
Andazi.
Indazi. It's called indazi, and it's basically like a little bit of a cake, I think it was in a triangle, and they get one of those. But shortly thereafter, not too long after that, they got lunch, or they called it lunch, yes. And it was a lot of food, actually. It was a lot of rice and beans, and also onions, and I think there was lentils in there as well. And I was surprised at how big the plate was. I didn't have any because I ate later. But if I had what the big boys were eating, that was a lot to eat. I was very pleased at how much the students were able to have for food. That's a little bit about the school. You just have to see it to believe it. Your heart will just melt. You have to have a heart of stone to not love these kids. All these kids, some of them are tiny, teensy tiny. They're 3 years old, and they come up to you and they want to stroke your head, and they want to hug you, and they want to be near you. I was out in the grounds there, basically the grass where the sheep were grazing and the kids were, and I was telling them stories. I told them the story about Dismas the good thief, and they all listened very attentively, and it was just an environment that was just wonderful. One thing that's odd, though, very interesting. This is south of the equator, a little bit, not very much, but it's in the mountains. It's about 1.5 miles high. It wasn't cold today to me at all. It was 68 degrees and probably a little bit higher in the afternoon. 68 degrees. That's the kind of thing that in Texas we're going to be wearing shorts. They were wearing not only jackets, but a lot of them were wearing pretty heavy, like winter jackets, and they were wearing hats, or they were having their hood up. So they think that this weather at 68 degrees is cold. So you think of Africa as hot, at least you do if you live in the United States. They think of this as cold. Now this is their summer, and it still feels cold. Basically, they only have 2 seasons. They basically have a dry season and a rainy season. Temperature's the same basically throughout. So you see all these little babies wearing these coats and having these hats on and everything, so much that sometimes you only saw their eyes bugging out, and they were just as sweet and as beautiful as can be. There's 180 orphans, and some of them are not orphans, but some of them are more at-risk kids. 180 that are educated. And they're not only taught reading, writing, arithmetic, science, all the rest, but they're also taught a way of life that is about being polite, and about obeying your superior, and about calling your teacher, teacher Thomas, for instance, instead of just Thomas. It's really a wonderful, beautiful environment. I would recommend anyone who's an Orthodox Christian to come here. This is also an Orthodox school. It happens that the state of Kenya mandates that there is either Christian education or Muslim education for public schools kids. They pick a religion. And of course the Christian education isn't anything near Orthodox. It's just a sectarian kind of looking at the Bible, etc. Well, we also have to do CRE. But of course our CRE is Orthodox education. And I will be starting that tomorrow, where I will have a class every single day for the rest of the time that I'm here, with maybe a few exceptions. And I'll be teaching them the Orthodox faith. It's a wonderful thing. I hope that you come to this mission and help. And I also hope that you contribute your dollars, because I have other videos that are going to tell you some other things that are happening. God bless you.